Okay, so let's just give you a little bit background information if this is your first time seeing any of these faces. So we have Michael Peter. Michael Peter is a product manager with an extensive experience in developing products, growth strategies, and transformation programs across Africa. He has a lot of expertise in technology, fintech, savings, investment, commerce, management, and consulting. He's also an alumnus of the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance. Really great to have you join us, Michael. Okay, so we have John Ujura Pesa. He is the founder of BNET Learning. He's an innovative business technology professional with decades of experience in business analysis, technology, product management, project management, and entrepreneurship. He's the brain behind BNET Learning. So glad to have you join us, Mr. John. We have Promise Akawo. Promise Akawo is an international business analyst with decades of expertise driving digital transformation, product innovation, and process refinement. He's a professional with certifications in CPAP, CSP, a master's in data analysis, and is an active member of the International Institute of Business Analysis, IABA UK chapter. Thank you so much for joining us, Promise. So good to have you. And of course, we have Ifetola Toyebi. She's a result-driven digital transformation program manager and a certified business analyst with over 12 years with expertise spanning from operations to customer service to delivery to business analytics and user experience. Thank you so much, Ifetola, for joining us. I love the fact that everyone here has this business analysis background, has a very, very serious, specified business analysis spirit. So it's going to be an amazing one. So just before we start, if you have any questions, perhaps when any speaker is speaking or saying anything, you can just drop them in the box. So by the time we are done our panel session, then we take questions. But if you have any questions whatsoever, you can drop them in the comments, the toolbox, right? So without further ado, let's get started. So I'd like us to first start with an introduction into what or into who a business analyst is. So Promise, let's hear from you first.
Well, I mean, there are many definitions about who a business analyst is. Um, I'll start with the simplest. A business analyst is a problem solver. And the typical most popular definition of a business analyst that people always say is a business analyst is somebody that is a bridge between a solution and business itself. But we now come into context and we look at several other definitions that come into practice. Our work is in change. We make things happen as business analyst professionals. And if I were to explain it to a baby, uh, let's say I'm explaining to my niece who is currently 6.
Yeah.
They're like, Uncle, what do you do with business analysis? I'll be like, okay, do you see that phone that you hold on your hands? Right. So my role as a business analyst is to tell the people that are building the technical things about how the buttons work, tell them what it should do and how it should be done. So there are different ways we can look at it, and I'm sure the panelists of wonderful speakers also have different narratives. I don't want to go by just blueprints, definitions from Babok and the BCS. I think it's more practical and industry-led than taking just theoretical definitions about what business analysis is. And it'd be nice to have different views as well.
Okay, thank you, Promise. So Michael, what would you say in the true sense is a business analyst? Is a business analyst.
Right. Hi, Olayemi, and hi, everyone. So good to be here. Really, it's so far been an interesting start to the whole conversation. Essentially, I think Promise has really set a very solid context to what business analysis is. I think for me, what I would probably just add to it is the fact that business analysis involves creating the big picture. It's more like you want to build systems, you want to create digital solutions, you want to build technology solutions, or there is a there's a picture that you need to have in terms of how that solution would look, or the problem that solution would actually solve, how that solution would actually drive value, deliver value to whoever has a need for it, who you are probably building it for. So business analysis is that process, the steps, the activities that you then go through to create that big picture. But beyond that, creating that big picture, which is the first step, it's also the things you do, the activities you do, the processes you put in place to ensure that you then achieve what is required to create that big picture. And then to then be able to also, bring everybody required in terms of getting value from that big picture. But again, that's where the stakeholders, management and analysis then set in basically. And then in creating a big picture, we are in a world where as you are delivering value, you need to measure impact of that value essentially. So business analysis also involves you making a sense of data to then, being able to quantify how valuable that big picture that you are creating is to whoever you are creating it for and for what purpose, basically. So that's the additional context I would add to it.
Wow, that's amazing. So business analysis means being able to quantify and transform data into terms that you will understand. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. John, what would you like to add to that?
Thanks, Laimi, and good morning, everybody from Calgary here. So lots of great insights and context. I like the fact that Promise and Michael did not go with the textbook definitions, which is what we usually get. So thinking of it right now off the bat, I'm thinking of some cardinal questions that business analysis help us ask. Who? Why? Right? For whom? When? Right? So when we get into situations where change is required and there are different drivers, business drivers pushing us to change, you realize that questions would need to be asked. One of my favorite authors is Simon Sinek, and the book Start With Why. And so if there's anything that I feel as a phrase defines the work that business analysts do, it would be starting with why. Why are we doing this? Why is change required, right? Who is change required for? Who does this impact? How does this impact them, right? How might we solve for X or Y? So without saying too much, I feel that just starting with key questions, key cardinal questions help you understand what business analysis is. On the other end, there are key elements that help us focus on exactly what we do. Value, right? If value will not be created, then there's no point pursuing a path for change, right? If we don't understand the context as well, understand stakeholders who are impacted or who are interested in the change, then what are we doing, right? If we don't understand the elements of the change itself and the entire change approach, what are we doing, right? So without saying too much, I'll just pause right there to say that cardinal questions help us fully understand what we do as business analysts.
Beautiful point of view, John. Thank you so much for sharing. Cardinal questions that help us to understand the why, the how, and the where. Okay, Ifetola, what would you like to add to this?
Okay, hi, Olayemi. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay, so
yes,
for me, the three speakers have actually really spoken a lot about business analytics. I'll just go through these routes. Basically, is identifying a problem and looking at the context of my own sector, in the banking sector. You'll be amazed how customers' needs are evolving from time to time. You'll be shocked today, you think you're good and 100%, and in just few months down the line, because what customer wants, what you gave to them yesterday, tomorrow, they've changed. Regulations are coming. There are a lot of things coming together to shape every sector. So more importantly, there's a need to change. So the change can come from trying to follow regulations, and it can also come from customers' needs. And that's where a business analyst comes in. And for me, I see a business analyst as a bridge between, the customer and also the technical team. and also the business. It's three in one. Because at the end of the day, when you want to churn out a product, you want to understand, you want to be very sure that it's perfect with customers' needs. And for me, that's where accurate customer journey mapping comes in. So for me, I see a business analyst as someone that works effectively with all stakeholders, works with the technical team, works with the stakeholder, and also works with the CX team, who definitely will put on their CX mark in ensuring that whatever change, anything we're working with, will actually meet the evolving need of the customer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ifetola. That's also a beautiful definition of business analysis. And it just comes down to the fact that the role of a business analyst in every sector cannot be overemphasized. It's super important because they are the ones that create a set ground, a framework that you can use to work for your business to get better. So now let's take a dive into AI. Now we know AI is technology that enables computers, machines to stimulate human learning, comprehension, problem solving, help in making decisions. But I want us to talk about AI in business analysis now. So how would we say we see AI tools transforming the efficiency of business analysts today? Because going by the definition of what everyone has defined business analysis to mean and business analysts, it involves a lot of working together with teams, it involves data, it involves knowing the why. You need a business analyst for your business. So let's talk about AI in this house. So John, I think I would like you to go first. How would you see AI tools transforming the efficiency of business analysts today?
Thanks, Alani. So when I think about this, one of the things that comes to mind is that people assume that we're talking about a solution that exists and we're now looking for a problem that it can solve. That would be the wrong way to think about it. Right? Oh, we've built this fantastic technology. What might we do with it? Okay, let's try to use it to automate some BA tasks. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about going from a problem and opportunity mindset to then leveraging AI to solve problems. So for me, I'm thinking about all the day-to-day use cases that already exist for the business analyst, that we had already found different ways to solve for them before AI really became, scaled as it is right now. So, for example, there are repetitive tasks that BAs perform. Think about stakeholder engagement management. You have workshops and meetings, focus groups, you have research activities. These are prime use cases for AI adoption or application. So, for example, in the past, we've had workshops happen where we will need to then manually transcribe workshop outcomes or grab physical sticky notes from the workshops and have to then take weeks to translate them or transcribe them. In fact, I had a personal experience some weeks ago where for a client, we had a almost 3-hour-long workshop and we got about 120 sticky notes, physical sticky notes out of the workshop, right? So I was talking to an assistant, okay, how might we get this, transcribed and ready to analyze? And she was like, okay, by next week, I'll have it ready. I was like, nah, it doesn't work that way. Take pictures of these boards, of these flip charts and all of these boards, right? And extract the insights from ChatGPT and then use human intervention to refine and edit. Within 2 hours, we add 120 ideas captured from physical sticky notes into a Miro board.
Wow.
That is a practical application, right? So when you think about those repetitive activities that center around documentation, around information gathering, there are lots of opportunities here. I think that AI is doing a lot of good in this case. And maybe we're going to talk about later on the assumption that AI is here to take away BA jobs. I don't think that's the case. I think it's here to really augment the work of the BAs. And like I tell my team, it is the power of the 10x. I think Michael and we had a conversation some weeks ago about this as well. AI here is giving you that 10x power, times 10 of what your human capacity might have been. So let me pause here so that the other panelists can also chime in.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing with us, John. So Michael, what would you have to say?
Yeah, thank you, Olaim. I think John has actually set a very good background to it. Of course, speaking to the conversation we had last week and a few weeks back, in terms of how AI can, give you that 10x experience. And that speaks to the power of speed and scale, essentially. And you would agree with me that as business analysts, speed is very important. I like the perspective that the other speaker, I think Feisola, is that correct? Please remind me. Yeah, the perspective she brought about customers' needs, changing rapidly. You're delivering one solution at this time, and before you know, customers are demanding for a new thing. That means that as business analysts ourselves, we need to also be very fast in terms of how we create values and how we innovate. And that then kind of leads me into, the value that AI then brings more, adding additional context to it. Look at it from discovery phase. John mentioned the speed at which you can, before now, where you have to gather things with physical notes. Today now, you're converting that within a space of minutes. You are getting key insights, which helps you in doing discovery very fast. We have AI tools embedded in our work tools today, co-pilots, essentially. I don't write meeting notes anymore. With co-pilots, I can get meeting summaries, and within minutes, I'm distributing to our stakeholders, essentially. So that helps discovery, essentially, gathering insights, engaging stakeholders, and all of that. Now, if you now bring it then to the problem space, in terms of what you want AI to do for you, essentially, you can also leverage AI tools in really planning. John mentioned about what Miro can do. Within those tools, you have AI embedded, or there's hardly any tool you use as a business analyst today that you don't have AI assistants embedded into them. Even talk about your project management tool, Jira, for instance. With the AI assistant tools, can get key analysis, insights into development activities and all of that, and that helps you in the problem solving space. Now go to the solution space itself in terms of what you want to now build. You want to create values, essentially. You can leverage different AIs to then, create values, analyze data very fast, even with some of the generative AIs that we have, ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, DeepSeek, and their likes. You can, of course, impute your data into them. But of course, ethical considerations have to come in so that you don't impute proprietary information, companies' information into all of these tools, essentially. So by and large, AI has really helped us is helping us to really, move faster and then scale solutions that are valuable to the stakeholders generally. So that's my take on that.
Thank you for sharing, Michael. I will come back to your comments, but let's have comments from Promise and Ifetola. So Promise, you can go first. Do you want to add?
I think in a simple sentence, I would say AI is an enabler, and John has said it. Michael has even gone deeper as well, and everybody has just sort of shared a narrative about what AI is really doing to business analysis. And giving the typical example that John used about having about 120 sticky notes makes it very, very wholesome about how much we can really cover in a very short time. And I think I recall a very sort of discovery session that I led recently, honestly. On the spot, I am building a criteria to analyze 45 country lists of data that are all over the place. And they bring in revenue, they bring in about different data all over the place. And you have to sort of come up with about 5 criteria quickly. And these criteria, you have to measure them by percentages. Imagine me thinking, okay, what is the basis of doing this at the same time? When I could literally just say, okay, let's look at this depth. If we get this data from X and Y country and X and Y country, how many percentage can we slot into the different businesses in the different countries? And boom, I was able to then build a criteria around it. And they didn't even finish there. I had to downstart. It's been long. I used to be an accountant in my early career days. and I used to build financial models. I don't remember these Excel formulas anymore. But do you know that with AI embedded in Copilot and the Excel, I was able to sort of start developing very advanced formulas to then simulate the entire criterion across these different countries to find out to make a finalization. I'm like, okay, these are the high priority countries and these are the low priority countries. Now, these are things that will take forever. I remember the days when you're building financial models, there is no two-way around it. You have to know the formulas. If you don't know it, there's no two-way around it. And if you finish building a model or calculation and there's an error, you'd have to go back on yourself and start clearly, individually, one after the other, taking each function and advanced function just to sort of know what the error is. And this is me at the prompt by just telling Copilot, I got an error from this week. Can you please revisit the formula, prompt engineering? And you're visiting a formula that would definitely just help you make the correct decision. You are there to supervise and say, okay, these outcomes are not really clear. There's a need to just follow it. There are lots of cases where you can even look at. Let's even go to when you're building a business case. We did a case recently where we had to use an AI agent to sort of do market research for us in one of the projects that we were working on. And imagine that use case where you could definitely just do an agent. So you just have to just tell it and it just does it for you. So work is going to be faster. You are going to be there to ensure that you guide it properly and make the best use of ethical AI and responsible AI, which is one of the fundamentals things that has really happened. And it doesn't stop us as analysts and professionals from really being the brains without it, because it is you as a BA that gives this prompt. Without this prompt really coming into it, there is literally no way. The entire business life cycle front to work faster than they should. And imagine where you're having a process. Another use case I want to also mention was a process map that I was doing and had a session. And I'm like, okay, these are the documents I've gotten. These are the feedback. This is it. Let's sort of start prompting it. I already know how to build a process map, but it was a good thing to just have all the flows already written so I could just pinpoint, meet my stakeholders, do a walkthrough session, validate it, and less than just a few minutes, I was already done. And this is what AI could really do. You just still have to know your stuff, but it makes work easy for you. And there are many use cases. So I'll just leave the other ones for Ifetola, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you for sharing, Promise. Ifetola, do you have anything to add to all that has been discussed so far?
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, John, Michael, and Promise. I think I'll just take it up a little from what Promise just said now about training AI. Earlier in the day, I was talking to a friend of mine, and basically she's working on a job, it's on a PhD level, training AI on math at an advanced level. That was what she was doing, and she was telling me, So for me, I'm just going to come from this perspective. Yeah, AI is great, but AI needs us, as human, the specifics that you need to plug into it. And from the wonderful things other panelists have talked about what you can use AI for, I just want to come from here. For any, let's say you're using ChatGPT or anything, it's also personalized to you. So I would say Ifetola has a profile on ChatGPT that she uses. You know that over time, there's a way it will respond to me. If you've not been using it for a while, there's a level of response it will give you. At some point, it recognizes your level of intellect, the things you would not take. I mean, I was working with someone on something in the office. The person had used AI, and I said, no, bring it. And I plugged it in my own, and it was perfect. They didn't need to touch anything, because at different times I would tell AI, no, you're wrong. Put this into context. So what I'm saying is that for every role, like John had mentioned, that you've done before, informing strategy, I'm deep dive into, before I got into business analytics, into strategy, I was in operations, user experience, to form that, your transformation framework. The first current level that you have is your knowledge, your base knowledge in it. Now, what is AI coming to do? It's coming to take out those additional time, like John said, that you have to take to do those tasks. However, you need to know the tasks for AI to give you that level that you need. And as you use it over time, I just want you to know that you are training your AI. You're training it. I mean, at different times I would ask, I need to do this, but because maybe 6 months ago, I asked AI to do something for me, he had recognized how I would want it to be done and would do it that way. So I'll just encourage everyone using AI that it's something you need to start and do from time to time. You can start from a deck that you worked on before. Just give AI the input. Tell AI to work on that deck. Just give it, segments. Over time, you would see that the way your AI would respond to you will be different from another person. So for me, I see AI as a friend, as that friend you have somewhere that just makes your life easier. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ifetola. Amazing, on that.
Olayemi, can I
Oh,
just add a few things just to wrap up all of the great ideas so that folks can leave with some actionable items here. So when you look at the flow of the business analysis work that we do, the first thing you recognize is that no two BA engagement is the same. So it's important for folks to understand that. So I cannot just take the processes and templates and tools and approaches that Michael or Promise or Ifetola are applying on their current projects and expect that to translate to success in my project. So that is very important. Context is very important. As part of context as well, Ifetola was talking about the reinforcement of the learning process for the tools, for the models that we use. So you must understand the fact that you need to provide a context for the models to learn effectively. Now, the other thing you must understand is that for different stages of business analysis work, different things are required. All right. Now, so if I'm at discovery, let's say problem analysis, opportunity analysis, needs analysis level, the kind of tools and context that I need might be different. All right. So I remember in some of my past projects, right, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars paying research firms for reports. So you hear about Gartner, Magic Quadrant, you hear about IB's World, you hear about IT Novarica, different platforms that all they make millions of dollars from is just giving you research data and insights. So today, I just use my deep research tool with ChatGPT, right? And so what I paid $20,000 for 5 years ago to get a 50-page report, I can get it within 15 minutes from deep research. All right. So these are clear, tangible use cases that you can start using in the next hour. It's right there, right? So if you're at that stage of, client discovery, market discovery, whatever kind of discoveries you're doing, trying to analyze problems, needs, opportunities, drivers, benchmarks, there are tools there, deep research, right? Perplexity, Gemini. We've spoken about some of these tools. Now, when you advance to the point of consolidating your findings and generating reports, right? There are also tools that can do that for you. Michael and Promise have given very good examples of that, right? So you've found a ton of data. How do you make that data make sense so you can guide decision makers to make decisions quickly, right? So there are tools that can help you make sense of the data, make inferences, extract insights, right? Now, moving beyond that, how do you present your findings? There are tools that can help you package your presentations as well. You've got Gamma AI, for example. You've got Copilot enablement into Microsoft PowerPoint. You've got AI enablement from Gemini into Google Slides. These are practical things, so it's not abstract. All right. What about when you move from analysis into requirements design and specifications? Ifetola and Promise give examples of how you can use AI tools to map processes. This does not mean that there's no more requirement for the business analyst to have these skills themselves. You should understand how to specify a model requirement, right? You should know how to map processes, how to do use cases, how to write user stories. But what we're saying is that you can get that 10x enablement. Like Promise rightly said, the keyword here is enabler. The AI tools that we're talking about, the enablers. So you can go through the entire life cycle of business analysis work, from analysis and discovery work to insight generation, to reporting and presentation, communication, requirements modeling and specification, and there are tools that you can leverage, right? So you have tools like Miro. We've spoken about Miro, Lucidchart. So Lucidchart also now has, generative AI prompts that you can embed there, generate particular process maps or sequence diagrams or whatever you need. There is Mermaid. I know some of our own teams have leveraged Mermaid heavily. Requirements work for application development that will take us weeks and weeks. We could do them in days, in 3 days, we're done, right? And our requirements backlog were just ready for refinement and review by the product managers or product owners as it is. So my point here in summary is that this is not abstract. Your 10x is just in front of you, right? I'm hoping that folks can take all of these conversations and live with tangibles. Yeah, I hope that makes sense as much as possible.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. Thank you for sharing, John. Thank you so much. I've shared a lot of insightful comments. So out of all of this, like a question that comes to my mind is, we mentioned that there are AI tools that we can use this quarter, and John, you made mention of the sticky notes and how AI was able to help you to compute them as fast as possible. So what would you say is the requirement, or how would you say AI generated documentations or AI generated outputs are accurate? How reliable can you actually base decision making based on AI generated requirements? Because we know that AI is actually not 100% accurate. And there have been times when they make errors because they are giving you approximations and information based on historical data. They're not exactly guaranteed. So the role of the business analyst is very critical for us to be sure that you're not making or omitting any details. How can you ensure its reliability is efficient as a business analyst? I don't know who would like to go first.
Let me take a shot at that first. I think in terms of ensuring that you make the best use of AI and of course speaking to accuracy of information and support, I think that's where context comes in. There's a need for you as a business analyst to have context into your usage of AI, and then that also leads to the summary that John gave, in terms of at different stages of business analysis. What exactly are you trying to achieve? What exactly are you trying to use AI to solve essentially? So that knowledge of the what you want to use AI for is key. And then the context as to what you really want to achieve in terms of the level of information you want to get. For instance, I can't remember the last time I wrote a business requirement document or product requirement document off the top of my head. I use AI. These days, I don't even draw flows. I give prototypes to engineers to work on. I use AI tools like Lovable to come up with my prototypes, and it will give me actual visuals of what I want to create. Essentially, I even come with code snippets. It even comes with codes that I can even give to a software engineer that they can refactor and then embed into the code base. Again, the 10x effect then sets in. But then when I'm doing all of this, a knowledge of the problem I want to solve, what exactly I want the AI tool to do for me, which leads me to the AI tool to use, having clear context, clear information, having the picture of what I want to achieve also, clearly defined. So when I give it an input and then I get an output from it, I know the level of conviction that I can attribute to that output. Because again, I already have a context. Also trying to, the solution I want to provide, problem I want to solve. Again, all that first leads me to the tool to use, essentially, in the real sense of it. So I think basically just to look at it from a place of having clear context to the problem, having a clear picture of the solution you are looking at, very managing of the output that you get from AI, essentially. And just as Ifetola done, the more you use these AI tools, the better the accuracy, because you're also contributing to the language mode that are being trained to then drive the output that you get, and of course every other users get essentially.
So having a clear context of what a clear picture of what exactly the stage of what you want the AI to perform works. Okay, thank you for sharing that. How about you, John? What would you have to add to this?
So as you asked this question, what came to mind is something called GIGO. So while I was studying for my undergraduate degree in computer science, in my data architecture, data something class, the idea of garbage in, garbage out was really reinforced in our minds. So here, it's first important to state or to emphasize on the fact that AI is not infallible, right? I know that there are lots of efforts and investment going on to get us to AGI, right? Which would be way beyond our level of human intelligence right now. But AI is very much fallible, and it will sometimes hallucinate. It will sometimes go beyond the scope of reference. It will sometimes make things up. So human intervention is still very essential. Do not forget that AI is not yet here to replace you, the professional. It is here to augment your work and amplify the scale of the work to make you more efficient, give you speed, all of that. So simple answer is it's not infallible. It will make mistakes. So that is why as BA professionals, you should not lose your craft, right? So if, for example, you don't know what sequence models look like or sequence maps look like, you don't know what user story syntaxes look like anymore, how would you verify and validate a backlog that has been AI generated, right? So what we're saying is leverage the 10x, but don't lose your craft as a business analyst.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that, John. Ifetola, do you have anything to add to this?
Thank you. I'll just add one more thing from what John had said, which is very critical. Don't lose your craft. And it's very important to note that AI is depending on you and it's what you feed it. So once you understand the process, so AI is just to reduce what could really take you 10 hours to do it in 1 hour. So let's say in the banking industry, some companies, banks had over 60 million customers, and you need to run a survey before embarking on a change to know why and what customer need have. For that, what you want to do, normally on your X, you could have even seen from a point of view that, oh, this customers, this is my NPS, this is this. So when you feed it into AI to give you the sentiment analysis, you already have a picture of your state. I mean, AI can tell you your NPS is 38, and clearly I mean, the company is still on a minus. So, I mean, it can't be that bad. But for me, over time, I'll just state this again. The faster we start using AI, it's supposed to make life easier for you. The faster you start using it, the better it is at working with you. So you can personalize it. So over time, if from what John said, you know how to do sequence modeling, you tell AI to do it for you, it does it in a way, you have a way you want yours to come out. You could tell it, no, this is wrong, do this. Trust me, next time you feed it in, it will give you the correct output. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful. I agree
Maybe
with that.
allow
Thank you.
me one thing to add quickly to that is the power of prompt engineering. I know this is not about prompt engineering as a session altogether, but Ifetola has made some fantastic points that leads back to the idea of prompt engineering. If you want to effectively leverage AI as a business analyst, then take time out to intentionally learn what prompt engineering is and the different frameworks out there.
Okay. Now coming to what you added, John. So this just means that it's not just enough to be a business analyst. You have to have specific skills that would help you harness the power of AI. So are there other skills that anyone in business analysis can go into to learn first? Perhaps data analytics and any other skills that are quite important and vital to help you harness, because it's one thing to know how to get what you want from AI. It's another thing entirely for you to be able to verify what you are getting from AI.
Yeah. So the first thing I should say is that AI does not replace the need for critical thinking on your part. And if there's any underlying competence that a BA needs more or most, I would say it is critical thinking, right? So you're faced with a scenario, a challenge, a problem to actually get into. How do you process that in your mind? Understand all of the connective tissues of that particular context. So I think that is a very crucial skill, so that you can have a meaningful, don't forget it's called conversational AI for a reason, which is what most of us rely upon. So if you cannot have a clear, succinct, concise conversation with the AI entity that you're interfacing with, if we can call it that, then you won't be able to get quality outcomes. I think that is very important to state. Now, the trend I'm also seeing here is that as we are able to delegate or leverage AI for the more tactical day-to-day activities, more expectations will now be placed on the business analyst to be more strategic, to be a better communicator, because the time you're saving from leveraging AI should be repurposed to help you deepen your stakeholder relationships, right? Make your stakeholder engagements more effective, right? And make you a more important or highly valued strategic contributor to the business. So you're going away from only talking about process mapping on a day-to-day basis to thinking about how optimizations in the processes can lead to more ROI for the business, right? So I think that those tactical skills with the now focused or targeted at AI tools, why the more strategic competencies are expected of the BAs themselves. And I'm sure Michael, Promise, and Ifetola can add some more context to that.
Yeah. Okay, Promise, let's hear from you.
I mean, you all have taken the words out of my mouth, but I'll put it in a very short form. John had initially just told us how we have to really focus on the whole thing as BAs, know your roots. Michael, on the other hand, has told us how it's very, very impossible for you to do without. How is it possible for you to do without really just putting the user needs as an important part of really using AI, because that is the main thing. Then Fetola clearly just used prompt engineering as one of the areas you still have to put. Recently, we've seen conversations that has come up a lot lately. It's, for instance, BAs are now leveraging AIs. And the question is now, okay, what then, how then do we really then place a balance between who has really bringing themselves as individuals, as business analyst professionals into the fold of delivering quality work. And all I could really put up in one of the sessions that I talked about was it's now going to be focused on human-centered design. How do we articulate the idea of really problem solving? What is our humanity in interpreting cases when working with large scale of stakeholders? How is our emotional intelligence being used when we're working on different frames of problems? Do we put ourselves forward? When you're doing, let's say you're probably having conversations about processes, how have you really paid attention to how these activities carried out from place to place, the people that are involved, how it affects the operations and our analytical skill. John also mentioned how critical thinking. So the key word I would want us to just put into this area is the difference in this emerging area of AI is our humanity is going to come forward. It's going to be tested. I mean, recruiters are no longer even very specific, and even your stakeholders are no longer very keen about some very technical work that you're doing now. It's more about stakeholder management and how you sort of really build that communication and manage all the expectations with them. So these are some basic, it may seem basic, but with how tech and AI has gone deep, it's now become more important than more than just the technical skill itself. So that's what I just thought I should just add as a pinch of salt.
Thank you for sharing.
So can I add one more thing, Olayemi? One more thing.
You can, yes. Yeah.
All right. I think a lot has been said around, talking about the skills that is needed to then make the best of AI. A lot has been said around critical thinking, problem solving, communication, of course, mentioned, of course, analysis, and I like the perspective Promise brought into it, which is more like empathy. so to say, human-centered approach to it. Then one thing I want to add is documentation, essentially. Even when you are making use of AI, how you want, prompt, whether you're using prompts, whatever AI tool you're leveraging, how you want the output to be presented is also very critical. It's an important skill to have. Apart from you getting the output from the AI, we've talked a lot around human-centered usage of AI in terms of having that empathy. How then you then present it to stakeholders, which is where your documentation skill really comes in. So that's one skill I also thought to add to the other ones that have been mentioned by the other speakers.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. Ifetola, I know we don't have so much time, but I still want us to contribute to this. So what would you have to add to what our panelists have said?
Okay, thank you very much. I like that part of documentation, and Promise also talked about human-centered design. For me, one thing that's very critical is, wearing that CS card, customer's mindset, as you're walking down on your requirement to bring out the solution. And there's something very key that John mentioned about critical thinking. AI is not going to take that out. In fact, just to talk more about prompt engineering, when it gets to working with AI on critical thinking, and it's so good that at some point, bringing humanity into is telling AI, don't you think we can do this? To be amazing, we tell you, oh yes, sorry, I forgot, you should do this. And you say, okay, which other way? So the meaning of that is you're coming to AI to say, in this journey, the best way, don't you think this is okay? Then after that, for you just have one idea. You'll be shocked that one prompt that you fed into it can give you over 10 other ideas that will be wonderful. Which, if you didn't put that prompt, AI might not have given you that 10 or 12. So essentially, that critical thinking for me is a factor. And also, like he said, human-centered design. When you design mapping customers' experience from one part to another. And also to crown it all, because of time, I would just say that using AI, I worked on a strategy document sometimes ago, and I would say it took me about a month, to put them together. It was like a growth strategy document for some new products coming in the banking sector. And I was called into a meeting, and I had to do it in less than 24 hours. I will tell you from what Olayemi mentioned before, how do you validate the data it gives you? So what I did, first step, I worked with AI. I need this, and that. I stated specifically what I needed. And also another prompt at the back. If there's any other thing, any other way this can be done better, please, I would like to know. When I finished the deck, it worked on the whole deck. The next thing, I looked at some of those factors that AI could have missed. I told AI, go to each banking sector, go and check their Google, check their ratings. It was a whole lot. But at the end of the day, I had to ensure that I did some sort of validations on some of those data to ensure that it's accurate. And sometimes I'll go back and tell AI, you missed this, please check. So it's just very important that, like John said, critical thinking. It's important. Without that, your AI might just work with you at a very basic level also. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ifetola. Our panelists have said a lot today. Now we're talking about the skills that are necessary: critical thinking, clear conversational terms, being a better communicator, prompt engineering, documentation, being human-centered. Wow, that's really, really immersive. So if you have any questions for our participants, please do not hesitate to drop them in the comment section so that our panelists can respond to your questions as well. So now let's talk about some misconceptions with AI usage. What would you say is the biggest misconception? I mean, aside the whole AI is coming for your job, which everyone basically says that when we understand that, but it has been debunked in this webinar that AI is not coming for your job. But what other misconceptions would you say are in this sector? I don't know who wants to go first. John, do you want to go first?
I think if it's go ahead, yeah.
Like for me, it's just one thing. AI knows it all. Oh no, he makes mistakes. Oh my God. I've taught AI in maths. He had made me, I say, you missed it. This is the answer. I say, I'm sorry. Let me do that again. He does not know everything. So sometimes we are also very smart. We are smart humans. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Vitola. Okay, so John.
Yeah, I think, on the other end of the spectrum of, on one side you have, it's going to take away all of our jobs. The other end is going to do all my work for me. So it's definitely not going to do all your work for you. It's going to take away some of the more tactical things and give you more room, more time to spend on things that are more important. So I think it's very important to understand the fact that when AI frees up your capacity, you should definitely repurpose the freed up capacity for more valuable work. It's not time to then relax and chill and just fold your arms, right? I think there'll be more expectations. There was a Harvard report that came out, I think, on Wednesday about the impact of AI on the workforce generally, and I'm just paraphrasing. I can't quite remember right now, but one of the major findings was that we're seeing a reduction in entry-level roles and an increase in senior level roles. What does that mean? It means that all of the more tactical work that we used to, and operational work that we used to depend on entry-level staff for has now been delegated to AI tools, right? And then people that can do the big picture thing, like Michael said earlier, that can do the strategic work are now more in demand, right? So the point here is that even if AI is saving you time and giving you more capacity, ensure that you repurpose that intentionally to more valuable outcomes.
Thank you for sharing, John. Promise, do you want to say something?
Honestly speaking, I am really, really pleased with what John has said and every single one of us has shared so far. And it also just comes into something that I really spoke to my small community some time ago, that given how AI is really, really revolutionizing our ways of work, it is now important that we as BAs, and mean it could be product professional or project professional that you are, it is important that we now start paying attention to how we can really leverage AI to get things done faster. And an argument came up, which is it now time for BAs to really now focus on specialization, or is it time for BAs to really show up more what they are made of? And what we just sort of argued about is what the technical skills we used to claim that are very, very standard skills before, they are now basic leverage background for everybody to have. Before now, we used to hear Power BI, data analysis and Power BI skills were as a standout role. Now, as BAs and as professionals, it is now a skill as a BA you should have. You're working on process optimization, and we sort of got into a point where we are thinking, what can we automate? And the question comes in, can we sort of transform this survey that we've gathered from over 45 country client contacts into a dashboard report that automates over time when it's being updated and informs our clients that these changes have been made? It's now becoming a question of, okay, well, can we use RP? Can we use Power Automate to sort of do these things? And the question is UIB, right? These are technical terms, right? But they are AI related, right? Because of how AI has really grown so fast, it then raises the bar, then expect you to then have some skills that were more just very technical, special skills. You're now expected to sort of have them to deliver quality work. So this is me saying a big shout out to everybody. It's now a good point for us to then start looking at what area of personal development do you want to sort of focus on, adding to what are the typical professional skills that we already have because of how the bar has changed. I mean, you heard when John said entry-level roles are no longer there. It's either mid or high. So please really just think about it. From that's what I just said I should share with this narrative.
Okay, thank you for sharing with us, Promise. Okay, so time is fast spent, but before we leave, I want us to just add, in the next 5 years, or let's say in the next 6 years, what major shifts can you foresee, happening in business analysis due to the power of AI? John, would you like to first?
Okay, yeah. So I think one thing I mentioned earlier was that evolution from tactical, because when you think about business analysis, you've got three spheres mainly, right? Strategic, tactical, and operational.
Yeah.
And the bulk of business analysts play within the tactical and operational spaces. And a few people, a smaller proportion, play in the strategic space. What I'm seeing is that movement of more BAs from the operational and tactical space into that strategic space. Like I said before, given that we can now delegate the operational and the routine tactical work, like process mapping or any requirement specification work, you can have that delegated to AI tools. Then if you want to remain relevant as a business analyst, you must become more strategic. That is my understanding. I think that will be the biggest trend I foresee.
Becoming more strategic, that's quite important. Yeah, right. Michael, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, for me, building on that also, in the future, there will no longer be a business analyst role. It will now be an AI business analyst. So if you're a business analyst, you can't use AI. In the next 5 years, there won't be that role for you in the real sense. So companies are gradually looking for business analysts who are leveraging AI to deliver value, to manage stakeholders, to solve problems, to do discovery, to do all of these things we've mentioned. So that's one major shift everyone should look out for in the next couple of years.
So business analysts should envision trying to learn how to harness AI now as a special skill.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Ifetola, what would you say coming from the finance perspective now, because you're in the financial industry? Well, how would you say this?
Okay, yes. For me, I'll say the same thing everyone had said, and also John. It's being more strategic. Honestly, it's very critical. For me, thinking about fraud, when you look at also in the banking sector, if you want to even work on any project as a business analyst in that angle, you need to know how to leverage on AI. You need to know how to leverage on different processing languages. You need to know how to leverage on it. So at that point, it would not be so much about, like I said, the operational parts. It will be so much about how strategic you are. And there's something John mentioned earlier. Also, you can have more time to focus on stakeholders' engagement. You can have more time. I know that in some environments, especially even in the banking sector, you would see that sometimes it's the business that comes to you to tell you, oh, I need to make this change. So it means now being more strategic as a senior business analyst. And like he also said, as an AI BA, is you are more proactive in identifying the solution or envisioning like that, oh, there will be this issue in the next 2 years or 3 years. We need to put this in place. So being proactive can also be something that comes out for you, which, I mean, sometimes maybe AI might not do it for you. So from that, you're being strategic. So with that, even being a BA, it just helps you to still be very relevant in the market, because trust me, at that time, everybody can see what AI can do with your role, but being able to leverage on all these tools and also being proactive and bringing human, like I said, human-centered design into place also helps you to do your work. And finally, I would say, if you look at the banking industry, there's so much regulation, and there's always an issue. It's always about IT security. Which is always very great. I've been opportunity to work on projects that we had to look at the impact of financial fraud in the banking industry. And it's great. It's something that the bank is combating from year to year. These guys that attack are getting stronger every time. So with AI, as a business analyst, it's you sitting down, working in that space, and thinking ahead. So you're going to the business from a solution mindset about the future. From there, you're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ifetola. Time is fast spent, and we have to close now. But if you want to learn more about AI, if you want to learn more about business analysis, we have BNET here for you. BNET is a platform that you can learn the skills, you can harness the power of AI, you can improve yourself even as a person, not just there are so many courses that you can learn, that you can take. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you, John. Thank you, Promise. Thank you, Michael and Ifetola, for gracing us with your presence today. And thank you to all our participants. It's amazing. An event cannot be successful without you joining us. Thank you so much, Zubi. We have Chinemi, we have Favor, Anita, Tobiloba, Gloria, Aki, KFE, Elijah, and Esther. We have Wendy, Michelle, Rebecca, BC, Opeyemi, Akintola, Adeni, James, MAAN. Thank you so much. We have Omodola, Ogunleye, a lot of names. I don't want us to be locked out. We have Odi, Elizabeth, Emmanuel. We have Mary, Farouk, Kunch, Halima, Lawal, Anthony, Bright, Steve, Lola, Liz, Tosi, Uluma. Thank you so much, everyone, for making this event a success. And do not forget to follow our panelists, of course, on the social media accounts. And if you're wondering how you can reach them, just check BNET Learning on Instagram and you see everyone's profile. So thank you so much for, of course, there will be a part 2. We have to dive deep. Today was just really, talking about the superficial aspects of it. We're going to have a deeper dive into AI in business analysis because obviously the time is not enough to talk about it. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish you a beautiful day ahead, wherever you're joining us from, and a beautiful night, of course, for folks in Nigeria. So yeah, have a lovely evening and have a lovely day, everyone. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everybody.
Lion.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.